What happens when the room everyone expects to be warm suddenly turns cold? When a smile meant for daytime television tightens just a little too much, and a question meant to sound casual lands like a blade. The lights are bright, the applause sign is glowing, and Zendaya, Hollywood's golden silhouette, grace personified, steps into a space that promises comfort and delivers something else entirely. Before we go any further, if you live for these moments when fame cracks and truth spills out, subscribe to Stage View right now, like this video, and drop a comment. Because stories like this only get louder when you're part of the conversation. The applause rolls over her like a wave, familiar, practiced, almost soothing. Zendaya rises from her chair with that effortless poise people mistake for ease, hugging Whoopi, exchanging cheek kisses, her smile wide enough to catch the cameras from every angle. The audience cheers the way they always do when she appears, adoration, admiration, the collective agreement that she is untouchable. For a heartbeat, it feels like a celebration, like safety. Joy Behar watches from the panel, her glasses catching the studio lights as she leans back, lips pursed in something that might be a smile or might be calculation. She has done this for decades. She knows how to wait. She knows how to strike without raising her voice. Zendaya sits. Her hands fold neatly in her lap. The host's table gleams like a polished stage, mugs lined up, notes tucked just out of sight. The theme music fades. The chatter settles. The air shifts, subtle enough that only the people who've lived through moments like this can feel it. The tightening before impact. So, Joy begins, voice light, almost playful. You've been everywhere lately. A soft laugh from the audience. Zendaya nods, laughs with them, shoulders relaxing just a fraction. Movies, fashion, activism, people look at you and see perfection. Zendaya smiles. That's very kind, she says. Her voice is steady, musical. Years of interviews have taught her how to sound open without giving too much away. Joy tilts her head. But perfection can be exhausting, can it? There it is. Not sharp yet. Just a tap. Zendaya blinks, a microsecond longer than normal. I think expectations can be heavy, she replies carefully. For anyone. Whoopi chuckles, trying to keep the mood buoyant. Tell me about it, she says, earning a ripple of laughter. The audience relaxes again, thinking they know where this is going. Joy doesn't laugh. She leans forward instead, elbows near the table, eyes locked. You've spoken about being a role model, she says. Young girls, young people of color looking up to you. That's a lot of responsibility. Zendaya nods again. It is. And I take that seriously. And yet, Joy continues, her tone sharpening just enough to register, there are critics who say that Hollywood only embraces certain kinds of responsible. That you're celebrated because you're safe. The word hangs there. Safe. A murmur ripples through the audience, uncertain. Zendaya's smile doesn't vanish, but it tightens at the edges. Inside, something shifts. She's been called many things, talented, graceful, strategic. But safe? That's the word people use when they want to shrink you. I'm not sure what you mean, Zendaya says, still calm, but now measured. Joy lifts a hand, as if to reassure. I mean, you don't rock the boat. You don't make people uncomfortable. You don't challenge the system the way others have. The room stills. Even the cameras seem to lean in. Zendaya inhales slowly. She feels the familiar heat rise in her chest, the instinct to defend, to explain, to lay out every choice she's made, every meeting where she fought quietly behind closed doors. She also feels the weight of millions watching, ready to twist any word she says. I think there are many ways to challenge systems, she says. Some loud, some quiet. I don't think visibility should be measured by how disruptive it appears. Joy raises an eyebrow. But isn't disruption the point? A beat. Another murmur. Someone in the audience shifts uncomfortably in their seat. Zendaya's fingers press together. For some people, yes, she replies. For others, survival is disruption enough. That lands harder than applause. There's a soft from somewhere in the crowd. Whoopi nods slightly, recognizing the truth in it. Joy smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. That's a powerful line, she says. But critics might argue it's also a convenient one. Now the tension is unmistakable. The warmth drains from the studio, replaced by a brittle edge. Zendaya feels it, the sense that this isn't about curiosity anymore. This is about testing her, pushing her into a corner where any move could be read as failure. Convenient for who? Zendaya asks gently but directly. Joy doesn't hesitate. For an industry that loves you exactly as you are. A collective intake of breath. Somewhere off camera, a producer stiffens. This is no longer a friendly chat. This is a confrontation unfolding in real time. Zendaya's smile fades, not entirely, but enough. Her eyes harden just a touch. I don't think love from an industry is unconditional, she says. I think it's transactional. And I'm very aware of that. The audience breaks into scattered applause, surprised, supportive, conflicted. Joy waits for it to die down. So you admit, Joy presses, that you play the game. Zendaya lets out a quiet laugh, more exhale than amusement. Everyone in this business plays some version of the game, she says. The question is whether you lose yourself while doing it. Joy leans back, folding her arms. And have you? Silence. Real silence now. No laughter, no applause. Just the hum of lights and the awareness that millions of eyes are fixed on this moment. Zendaya feels the weight of her younger self, the girl who walked into audition rooms where she was told she was too much and not enough at the same time. She thinks of the fans who see themselves in her, who need her to be human, not flawless. I don't think so, she says finally. But I think people who don't know me are very comfortable deciding that for me. A ripple of applause grows, stronger this time. Whoopi smiles, clearly relieved that Zendaya isn't backing down, but also aware that this is spiraling. Joy's lips press together. For a split second, something like irritation flashes across her face. Well, she says, that's the risk of being a public figure, isn't it? Zendaya nods. It is, she agrees. But so is asking questions that come with assumptions. The audience reacts, some gasps, some applause, a low buzz of excitement. This is no longer polite daytime television. This is a line being drawn. Joy opens her mouth to respond, then pauses, as if recalibrating. The tension is thick enough to taste. Zendaya sits tall, unflinching now, her calm transformed into something sharper, more resolute. And as the cameras cut to commercial just seconds later, the audience is left buzzing, knowing they've witnessed the beginning of something far bigger than a single question. Something that won't end when the lights dim, something that will echo far beyond this studio. Because once a moment like this cracks open on live television, it doesn't close quietly. The red light above the camera blinks off, and the studio exhales like a held breath finally released. The applause sign goes dark. Conversations erupt in hushed, urgent tones. Zendaya remains seated, posture straight, hands still folded, as if the moment hasn't fully caught up to her yet. Inside, though, her heart is racing. Not with fear, but with the sharp clarity that comes when you realize you've stepped into something you can't walk back from. Joy Behar adjusts her glasses, glancing down at her notes, then up again, her expression unreadable. The producer's voices crackle faintly through earpieces. Someone coughs. Someone else laughs nervously, trying to lighten a room that refuses to be lightened. Whoopi leans slightly toward Zendaya. You okay? She murmurs, just loud enough to be picked up by a nearby mic if someone wanted it to be. Zendaya nods once. I'm good, she says. And she means it, mostly. She's steady, but she's also alert now, every sense sharpened. She knows this isn't over. The cameras flick back on. The applause sign flashes. The audience claps again, though this time it's uneven, uncertain, charged with curiosity. People sense blood in the water, even if they don't fully understand why. Joy smiles at the camera. We're back, she says brightly. Still here with the incredibly talented Zendaya. Zendaya returns the smile, a controlled version of the one she wore at the start of the segment. The kind you use when you know the terrain has changed. Joy turns to her. You know, she continues, it's interesting to hear you talk about assumptions. Because fans often assume they know celebrities intimately. They feel invested. Yes, Zendaya agrees. That's true. And when those fans see you staying neutral on certain issues, Joy says, voice smooth, they feel disappointed. There it is again. Neutral. Safe. Convenient. Zendaya tilts her head slightly. I don't see myself as neutral, she replies. I see myself as intentional. Joy chuckles. Intentional silence? A ripple of reaction moves through the audience. Someone whispers, oof. Another person shakes their head. Zendaya doesn't flinch. Intentional action, she says. Just not always public-facing. Joy raises her eyebrows. But if no one sees it, does it matter? Zendaya's gaze hardens, not angry but focused. It matters to the people affected by it, she says. Not everything is a performance. Whoopi jumps in, sensing the edge. I think what she's saying, she begins. Joy holds up a hand. I get it, she says. But this is television. Visibility is power. Zendaya lets out a slow breath. So is privacy. that earns a stronger reaction. Applause breaks out, scattered at first, then louder. Joy waits it out, lips pressed into a thin smile. But you use visibility when it benefits you, Joy counters. Fashion weeks, brand deals, magazine covers. You're very visible then. The words sting, not because they're entirely untrue, but because of the implication beneath them. That her presence is calculated. That her silence is selfish. Zendaya feels a flash of heat, a flicker of anger she quickly reins in. Those platforms also allow me to open doors, she says. For designers of color. For conversations about representation. For young people who've never seen themselves reflected. Joy nods slowly. Yet some would argue those doors were already open for you. A low murmur ripples through the crowd. Zendaya's jaw tightens. This is the line that cuts deepest. The suggestion that her success was inevitable, unearned, gifted rather than fought for. I don't think any door was open without resistance, she says, voice steady but firmer now. I've walked into rooms where I was underestimated, dismissed, labeled difficult for asking the same questions others were praised for. Joy leans forward. But you still walked into the room. Yes, Zendaya replies. And sometimes just being there changes the room. The audience applauds again, louder this time. Someone cheers. The energy is shifting, tilting toward Zendaya. Joy glances at Whoopi, then back at Zendaya. Do you think criticism of you is unfair? She asks. Zendaya considers this. No, she says. I think criticism is part of the job. But I think criticism without context can be harmful. Joy smiles thinly. Context like what? Like the fact that I'm a young black woman navigating an industry that profits off my image but resists my autonomy, Zendaya says. The words land with weight. The room goes quiet again, but this time it's a different kind of silence, one charged with recognition. Whoopi nods emphatically. That part, she says. Joy exhales, leaning back. For a moment, she seems almost defensive. No one is denying that, she says. But when you're elevated as a symbol. I didn't ask to be a symbol, Zendaya interrupts gently but firmly. I accepted that people would see themselves in me. That's different. A wave of applause crashes over the studio. This time it's undeniable. The audience is fully engaged, some leaning forward in their seats, others clapping with genuine enthusiasm. Joy waits, then tilts her head. But you benefit from being that symbol, she says. Financially, professionally. Zendaya nods. Yes, she says. And with that comes scrutiny. I understand that. What I'm pushing back on is the idea that visibility equals obligation to perform activism in one specific way. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it. For the first time, she seems momentarily off balance. So what would you say, Joy asks after a beat, to fans who feel you haven't done enough? Zendaya looks out at the audience, not at any one person, but at the collective. She imagines fans watching from their couches, phones in hand, already typing hot takes, already choosing sides. I'd say I hear them, she says. And I'd also say I'm human. I'm learning. I'm making choices based on what I believe is sustainable, not just for my career, but for my mental health. There's a soft from the crowd. A few nods. Joy's voice softens, just slightly. Do you ever worry that staying composed makes people think you don't care? Zendaya's expression shifts. This question hits differently. It's quieter, less sharp, more personal. All the time, she admits. But caring loudly isn't the only way to care deeply. The audience applauds again, warmly now. Even Joy seems to relax, just a fraction. But the tension hasn't vanished, it's transformed. It's no longer about one question or one answer. It's about control of the narrative. Joy smiles. You're very articulate, she says. I'll give you that. Zendaya returns the smile, but there's steel beneath it now. I've had a lot of practice defending my existence, she says lightly. The crowd laughs, a mix of humor and discomfort. Whoopi chuckles too, shaking her head. As the segment winds down, the questions shift to safer territory. Upcoming projects, fashion moments, lighter anecdotes. But the earlier exchange lingers like an afterimage. Every laugh feels a little louder, every smile a little more deliberate. When the final applause rolls and Zendaya stands to hug the hosts, the audience gives her a standing ovation. Not everyone stands, but enough do that it's noticeable. Joy hugs her too, whispering something inaudible. Zendaya nods politely, gracious as ever. But as she walks off stage, the weight of the moment finally settles. She knows what comes next. The clips, the headlines, the think pieces. the tweets dissecting every pause, every word, every glance. And somewhere behind her, in the glow of studio lights and unresolved tension, the question lingers. Who really won that exchange? Because the cameras may be off, but the story is just beginning. Backstage feels smaller than it should, the hallway narrower, the air heavier. Zendaya walks with her publicist just a step behind her, heels clicking softly against the floor, every sound amplified now that the applause is gone. A production assistant smiles too brightly as they pass. Someone says, "Great segment." Someone else avoids eye contact entirely. Zendaya nods, polite, gracious, automatic. Inside, her thoughts are loud. Her phone vibrates in her hand before she even reaches the dressing room. One notification becomes 10, then 20. She doesn't look yet. She already knows what's there. She's lived this moment before, just never quite like this. The door closes behind her with a soft thud, sealing her in a quiet that feels temporary, fragile. She exhales and sinks into the chair in front of the mirror. The reflection staring back at her looks composed, calm, untouched. She almost laughs at the disconnect. "Do you want a minute?" her publicist asks gently. Zendaya nods. "Yeah, just a minute." The door clicks shut again, and finally, she's alone. She unlocks her phone. The screen floods with motion. Clips already circulating. Captions in bold, breathless fonts. Zendaya shuts down Joy Behar. Zendaya claps back on the view. Was Joy Behar out of line? The algorithm is hungry, and this moment is feeding it perfectly. She scrolls despite herself. Some comments glow with support. She handled that with so much grace. Joy crossed a line. Zendaya said exactly what needed to be said. Others are sharper. She dodged the question. Too polished. That's privilege talking. Silence isn't activism. Zendaya sets the phone down, face up, like she's daring it to say more. She knew this would happen. She just didn't know it would hit this fast. Across the building, in another quiet room, Joy Behar sits with a mug of coffee gone cold. She scrolls too, brow furrowed. Her phone buzzes with messages from producers, friends, commentators eager to weigh in. One text stands out. That got intense. Joy exhales through her nose. No kidding, she mutters. She replays the moment in her head. Not the sharpest questions, not the applause, but the look in Zendaya's eyes when she said, "I didn't ask to be a symbol." Joy recognizes that look. She's seen it before, worn it herself decades ago. A look that says, "I'm tired of being told who I'm supposed to be." Still, another part of her bristles. This is her job, she tells herself. To challenge. To push. To ask what others won't. But the internet doesn't care about nuance. It rarely does. By the time Zendaya leaves the studio, the story has already grown legs. Paparazzi wait outside, cameras flashing, voices calling her name. "Zendaya, how do you feel about Joy's comments?" "Zendaya, do you think you were treated unfairly?" She keeps walking, sunglasses on, expression neutral. Her security closes ranks around her. She slides into the car, door slamming shut, cutting off the noise. Only then does she allow her shoulders to sag. As the car pulls away, her publicist finally speaks. "It's everywhere," she says carefully. "But overall, people are on your side." Zendaya stares out the window at the blur of the city. "That's not really the point," she says quietly. "What is the point?" her publicist asks. Zendaya thinks about it. About the question that started it all. About how easily admiration turns into expectation, then into accusation. "The point," she says slowly, "is that no matter what you do, someone decides it's not enough." The car disappears into traffic, but the conversation doesn't fade. It multiplies. That afternoon, entertainment news shows loop the clip on repeat. Panelists lean forward, animated, voices overlapping. Joy was doing what she always does, one says. Holding power accountable. But is Zendaya really power? Another counters. Or is she being asked to carry a weight that doesn't belong to her? Social media fractures into camps. Hashtags trend. Hashtag Team Zendaya climbs fast, buoyed by fans praising her composure. Hashtag Joy was right follows close behind, fueled by debates about celebrity responsibility. Think pieces begin to drop like dominoes. Headlines dissect tone, posture, phrasing. Every word Zendaya said is pulled apart, analyzed, reframed. Every word Joy said is weighed for intent versus impact. Zendaya tries not to read them. She fails. That evening, she sits on her couch, hoodie pulled tight around her, laptop open but forgotten. The TV murmurs in the background, a news segment replaying the exchange yet again. A tense moment on The View today, the anchor says. Fans are divided over whether the questioning crossed a line. Zendaya clicks the TV off. Her phone buzzes again. This time it's a message from someone she trusts deeply. You didn't know anyone that explanation. Proud of you. She smiles just a little. But then another message arrives, this one from a young fan she doesn't know, words spilling out in a long paragraph. I love you, but I wish you'd said more. I wish you'd called it out harder. We need you. Zendaya closes her eyes. This is the part no one sees. The push and pull. The impossible balance between being enough and being too much. Across town, Joy Behar sits at her own kitchen table, watching the same cycle unfold. She's given interviews before. She knows the drill. Still, something about this one sticks. Her phone rings. A producer. Tomorrow's show, they say. Do you want to address it? Joy hesitates. Addressing it means owning it. Or defending it. Or both. What are people saying? She asks, though she already knows. Strong reactions, the producer replies. On both sides. Joy sighs. Of course they are. She hangs up and stares out the window. She tells herself she'd ask the same questions again. That discomfort is necessary. That dialogue matters. But she also knows that sometimes the line between challenge and projection blurs. The next morning, Zendaya wakes up to a world that feels altered, even though nothing tangible has changed. She scrolls headlines while brushing her teeth. She listens to voice notes from friends reminding her to breathe. She considers posting something, a statement, a clarification, a carefully worded caption that would calm the storm. She doesn't. Instead, she goes for a walk. No cameras. No phones. Just the steady rhythm of her steps and the quiet space to think. She thinks about Joy. About how easily two women can be pitted against each other. Their words turned into weapons by people who were never in the room. She thinks about the audience applause, how it swelled, how it shifted, how it felt like validation and pressure all at once. By midday, a new development hits. Joy Behar addresses the moment on air. Zendaya watches the clip later, heart steady but alert. I want to say this, Joy says to the camera. My questions to Zendaya came from a place of curiosity, not hostility. These conversations are important, even when they're uncomfortable. Some applaud. Some don't. Joy continues. Zendaya handled herself with intelligence and grace. We don't have to agree on everything to respect each other. The clip ends. Zendaya sits back, processing. It's not an apology. It's not an attack. It's something in between. Her phone lights up again. People want her response. She doesn't give one. And that silence, intentional, deliberate, becomes its own statement. The narrative keeps evolving without her permission. Fans debate whether she should have pushed harder. Critics argue she hid behind eloquence. Supporters insist her restraint was the point. What no one can deny is this. The moment has taken on a life of its own. And somewhere beneath the noise, beneath the hot takes and hashtags, a deeper question pulses. Why is the burden of proving moral worth so often placed on those already carrying more than their share? That question doesn't trend. It doesn't fit neatly into a clip. But it lingers. And as the world keeps talking, both women sit with the aftermath in their own ways, knowing that the real impact of that conversation won't be measured in views or likes, but in the way it reshapes expectations long after the cameras stop rolling. Because this wasn't just a tense interview. It was a mirror. And not everyone likes what it reflects. The days that follow don't cool the moment down, they sharpen it. By the end of the week, the clip has been viewed millions of times, sliced into shorter and shorter fragments until context becomes optional. A raised eyebrow becomes suspicion. A pause becomes guilt. A calm tone becomes calculation. Everyone sees what they want to see, and the algorithms reward the loudest interpretations. Late-night hosts joke about it, careful but pointed. Did anyone else feel that chill on daytime TV this week? One quips, earning laughter that echoes a little too easily. Podcasts dedicate entire episodes to analyzing Zendaya's body language, Joy's phrasing, the audience applause. Rewinding and replaying as if the truth might finally reveal itself on the 10th viewing. It doesn't. What does reveal itself is how hungry the public is. Not just for drama, but for judgment. Zendaya notices it most in the quiet moments. At the grocery store, someone smiles at her with something like admiration mixed with expectation. At a meeting, a studio executive praises her strength, then asks casually whether she plans to lean into the moment. The moment, as if it's a product, as if it belongs to everyone but her. She keeps saying no. Politely, firmly. Joy Behar, meanwhile, feels the ripple in a different way. The show's ratings bump slightly that week. Emails flood in, some praising her for saying what needed to be said, others accusing her of targeting a younger woman to make a point. She reads more than she should. She always has. One message sticks with her, short and unadorned. You asked the question people argue about online, but you asked it to her alone on national TV. Joy stares at that line longer than she means to. On the next episode of The View, the audience feels different. Louder, edgier, as if they're waiting for something else to ignite. It doesn't. The conversation moves on, but the shadow remains. Even when Joy speaks, even when she laughs, there's an awareness now of how quickly intent can be overshadowed by impact. Zendaya attends an awards event that weekend, stepping onto a red carpet that looks exactly the same as it always has and feels entirely different. Reporters shout her name, but the questions aren't about the film anymore. How do you feel about speaking truth to power? Do you think celebrities owe activism to their fans? Would you go back on The View? She answers the way she always does, with grace, with boundaries, with a careful refusal to be pulled into a narrative she didn't choose. The fans cheer when she passes. Some shout, "We've got you." Others shout, "Say more." Both feel like pressure. Later that night, alone in a hotel room, she scrolls through social media one last time. She sees young women arguing with each other in comment sections, invoking her name like evidence. She sees older commentators using her composure as proof of something, strength or evasion, depending on the angle. She puts the phone down. The truth, she realizes, is that the interview didn't create this tension. It exposed it. It exposed how quickly society turns people into symbols, then punishes them for not performing the role perfectly. How young celebrities, especially women of color, are expected to be both flawless and revolutionary. Soft enough to love, sharp enough to fight, grateful enough to never push back too hard. It exposed how easily conversation becomes confrontation when an audience is watching. Weeks pass. The headlines fade, replaced by the next viral moment, the next outrage, the next clash. But the echoes remain. A college class uses the clip to discuss media ethics. A therapist references it in a session about boundaries. A teenager writes an essay about why quiet resistance still counts. A viewer who once sided firmly with Joy admits, reluctantly, that something about the exchange made them rethink how they judge public figures. The aftermath doesn't look like a winner and a loser. It looks like discomfort that refuses to go away. Zendaya eventually posts again, not about the interview, not about activism, but about her work. A behind-the-scenes photo. A caption about collaboration and care. The comments fill anyway, but mixed among the debates are quieter messages now. Thank you for being human. Thank you for not turning pain into performance. Joy, for her part, continues to ask hard questions. But there's a subtle shift. A pause before she speaks. A softer framing. Not because she's afraid, but because she's listening. And the audience? They're still divided. Still passionate. Still arguing late into the night about who was right and who was wrong. Maybe that's the point. Because the real power of that moment wasn't in the question or the answer, but in what it forced people to confront about expectation, entitlement, and the cost of visibility. So now it's your turn. Did Joy Behar cross a line, or did she ask a question that needed to be asked? Did Zendaya respond with strength, restraint, or something in between? Was this accountability, or was it pressure dressed up as curiosity? Share your opinion in the comments. This conversation doesn't end here. And if you want more explosive cinematic stories that take you inside the moments everyone's arguing about, but no one fully understands, subscribe to Stage View right now. Stay with us, because the stories behind the headlines are always deeper, darker, and far more human than they first appear.